Yo, what is up guys? It's Pedro here, and in today's video I will be talking about the report that the Washington football team will be interested in trading for Jets quarterback Sam Darnold if he is made available, and we'll also talk about some of the other quarterbacks that the Washington football team are currently interested in. So if you guys are new, make sure to subscribe for Washington and NFL content. So let's get right into the video. And I did see Ed Oliver make a video similar to this, so make sure you guys check that video out after you're done with this one. So John Keim, Ian Rappaport, and a bunch of others have reported that the Washington football team would be interested in trading for Sam Darnold. So let me read that report by John Keim, and then after that we'll get into some of the other quarterbacks that they are interested in. So John Keim said, Washington's starting quarterback remains a mystery, but I talked to several in the NFL who said Sam Darnold was one that they'd pursue if he was available, a combination of costs in terms of compensation, age, and that the Jets are in position to draft another and start over. I get him right now, one NFL assistant told me. As it stands now, the Jets likely will keep him, but if they decide to go in a different direction, then it gets interesting. And let's also talk about compensation and how much it would take to get him, because Ian Rappaport about a week ago or 2 weeks ago said that, it could cost a first, and if that is the case, there's no way I'm giving up a first-round pick for Sam Darnold. He said that before he thought it was a second, but now after the Matthew Stafford trade, he thought it's going to be more like a first. I would definitely not give up a first, probably wouldn't even give him a second, maybe a third-round pick, something around that. We'll get into that a little bit later, but it is very interesting that they are interested in pursuing Sam Darnold. And then Ian Rappaport and NFL Network, they also said this: when Alex Smith decided he needed a few weeks to figure out his future, the Washington football team knew it could not wait. While the team is open to return for Smith, it also made calls on Stafford and Jared Goff before they were traded. Expect them to weigh all QB options, which of course Ron Rivera has said a bunch of times, including Sam Darnold if he is made available. While plenty of teams have been calling the Jets on Darnold, there has been no indication they would trade him. Yeah, so that's the thing with them. They might still like Sam Darnold, and if they do, then they're probably not going to trade him unless they get a really good trade package back. But also, like John Keim said, they're in position to draft their franchise guy in Zach Wilson, Justin Fields, whoever they want. They have the number 2 overall pick, and Sam Darnold, he's in his 4th year. So even if he turns it around this year, next year he's going to cost $25 million per year if they do bring him back for that 5th year option, and then he's going to start to get expensive. So why not? You're already in a rebuilding mode. If you're the Jets, why not go ahead and trade him? That's just my thoughts right there. And it's also interesting that they did make some calls on Jared Goff. I really wouldn't be interested in Jared Goff, or, obviously it's a done deal now that he went to the Lions, but it would have been a huge cap hit. So real quick, let's look at some of Sam Darnold's stats. This past year did not have a good year at all. Had a 60% completion percentage, 2,200 yards, 9 touchdowns, 11 interceptions. Did not have a good year. And of course, he had terrible weapons. He had very bad coaching and was not in a good situation. But nonetheless, that is just not a good season at all. The year before had a way better year. Still not a great year, but had 19 touchdowns, 13 interceptions, got sacked about 33 times. Here's the thing. It's a combination of two things. He's been in a very bad situation with the New York Jets, but also he's played a part in it too. He hasn't been able to stay healthy. I mean, you look at it, 13, 13, and 12 games over his career, and the bottom line is he hasn't performed. Maybe getting in a new situation could turn things around for him. I mean, you've seen what happened with Ryan Tannehill, getting away from Adam Gase and going to a new team. Devontae Parker from the Dolphins, the year after the Dolphins got rid of Adam Gase, or 1 or 2 years after, he had his best year of his career after a lot of people were labeling him a first-round bust. So, there could be some truth to that where, Sam Darnold could have a way better year in a new situation. But I don't know. You see his weapons aren't great, but at the same time, he just hasn't been performing. 9 touchdowns, 11 interceptions in your 3rd year in the NFL. It's just, I don't know how much I would be willing to give up for him. Obviously, very, very talented guy. The second quarterback taken in that 2018 draft class. So he is talented, but it just doesn't make too much sense for Washington unless you really think he's your guy and you really think you can turn him around, because like I said, you're going to be paying him $25 million after this season. Let's say if we do trade for him. And at that point, let's say even if he does succeed, you're going to be paying him $25 million, after this year, and then even more after that. So it doesn't make too much sense unless you really truly believe in him. And some people do. Some people really, really like him. I'm not a huge fan. I would be okay with it. Maybe with the 3rd or 4th round pick would definitely not be my preferred option, but I wouldn't absolutely hate it. But no way I'm giving up a 1st round pick or a 2nd round pick for Sam Darnold. That's just not it. Some other guys that Washington has been rumored to be interested in: John Keim said Jacoby Brissett, and I actually would not be upset with that at all. In 2019, he had 18 touchdowns, 6 interceptions with the Colts, and he really started off really well with the Colts, but then he had an injury mid-season and kind of tailed off in that second half. Would have had a way better season if it wasn't for that injury, but 61% completion percentage, about 3,000 yards, 18 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, got sacked about 27 times. He's a little bit mobile. In that year, he had about 230 yards rushing, 4 touchdowns. This year, he didn't play much, obviously, with Phillip Rivers being out there, but he did, get in some situations, like goal line situations, had 3 touchdowns this year, rushing touchdowns. So, this would be a solid bridge option, honestly. Like, I would rather have Jacoby Brissett than Kyle Allen and probably even Taylor Heineke. He has had some, and he also does stay healthy. He hasn't had many injuries in his career. He did have that minor injury in 2019, but he still was able to play 15 games that season. He's going to be very cheap. So if you like him, maybe you get a bridge or maybe you draft a young quarterback and sit him behind Jacoby Brissett for a couple years. Would not mind that at all. I think he's a solid option. And Washington, of course, interested in Derek Carr, but the question is, do they make him available, and what is the price? That's the question right there. 27 touchdowns and 9 interceptions this past season. Had a great year, 3 touchdowns to 1 interception ratio, just like Jacoby Brissett. Also, Marcus Mariota could be someone they would be interested in. The Raiders will probably have to move on from one of those guys, because Marcus Mariota's cap hit's going to be really high for a backup this year. I think it's about over $10 million, and they also signed Nathan Peterman, so it definitely could be a situation where they move on from one of those 2 guys, and we end up going with that guy. And then I also saw today that the Dallas Cowboys are expected to franchise tag Dak Prescott if they can't come, to terms on a deal. So that's another quarterback that probably won't be available for the Washington football team. So we'll see what happens, guys. It's going to be very interesting. We're going to get a lot more in the next few weeks leading up to free agency. Maybe something happens before then. I'm not sure. Let me know what you guys think about these 3 different quarterbacks I talked about. Who would you want, and how much would you give up for Sam Darnold? So thank you guys for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, please smash that like button. Subscribe if you guys are new, and turn on those post notifications so you never miss a video. Let me know down in the comments below any videos you guys want to see in the next coming days. Peace.